Main lesson we must learn from the COVID-19 pandemic and the social and economic crisis that has developed since is that we should encourage countries and support them to put up rights-based standing social protection floors guaranteeing basic income security to all from cradle to grave, from child allowances and maternity benefits to old age pension, and including unemployment benefits, disability allowances, sickness benefits, the full range of what the International Labour Organization calls social protection floors.
Indeed, we must strengthen the interlinkages at the global, national, and community levels. We still need to accomplish a lot, as has been presented by Brian earlier, in order to address the root causes of conflict and fragility and to mitigate the impacts of the triple threat.
Poverty is pervasive throughout the global south. And if you look at lower middle income countries, you can see that, 30, 32, 33% of the population in those countries live in either extreme or poverty, and another 22%, 23% live highly vulnerable. They're not perhaps considered poor under the World Bank criteria, but they're highly vulnerable to shocks.
I was relieved to see that it was $10 billion more last year than in 2019, but it comes as no surprise that the demand for support is rising exponentially, and ODA alone will never be able to meet that, but it nevertheless remains a critical part of the financing for development package.
We must address the current trends of shrinking civic space that has been exacerbated by the current pandemic. Many civil society organizations, especially in the global south, are threatened, intimidated, harassed, or even killed by the state and non-state forces because of protecting citizen voices and livelihood.
And I can assure you that Finland remains committed to systematically strengthening civic space in Finland and abroad, and strengthening civil societies in developing countries. This is a major development goal for Finland.
The motivation was to more closely align the UK's development budget with our broader foreign policy interests, so with our trade, security, and wider diplomatic interests. And again, that's a trend that we've seen in the UK over the last few years to try and more closely align our development strategy with our wider diplomatic strategy.
We have to differentiate that there are certain countries that have very different realities. And we have to indicate that in these countries where there have been more democratic and progressive governments, the level of struggle with the structural problems has been more evident. But most of the countries in the region has conservative governments where resolving the structural problems is not inside the agenda.
We agree with the conclusions of the report on the need to improve the international aid system in the context of conflict, fragility, and climate emergency, and also on the need to improve the implementation of the triple nexus on the ground.
The reality of Asia Pacific has recognized the region is an important arena for applying, studying, and evaluating the triple nexus. However, the Lahore and Kanape, using the Philippine case, have shown that the wrong interpretations of the triple nexus can encourage government to shrink the civic space while promoting militarization.
To overcome this challenge, I think that training and similar tools that build a large group of Nexus supporters who will prioritize this work will be critical, and that external efforts, such as this one, that support mutual learning will also help us move forward together.
If you would see these numbers, you will find that Japan's ODA has shown increase in 2018, but it wasn't really an increase, but it was the result of the change in the statistical methodology, because Japan has always provided the majority of financial assistance in loans.
That a number of Canada's feminist commitments continue to be undermined by its actions on the trade and the foreign policy.
There must be some way wherein it can be used to address the crisis that these two countries are facing. And the Nexus must also ensure that it does address people's vulnerability before, during, and after the crisis, and more importantly, in terms of saving lives.
We need your help to make the case to our citizens, to our taxpayers, of the importance of this precious resource, even when our own economies and societies are under so much pressure from the pandemic. We need you to help be part of the solution. Yes, you need to hold the DAC to account, but we also need you to champion just what we can do when we work together to tackle climate change, to make humanitarian interventions more effective, to deliver development, and to invest in conflict prevention. Thank you very much.